It's not an AMA, short recap about the games. This is a play-by-play. No Instagram, these holograms. Boy, these ain't the same. This South Harmon, you know we do things a different way. We got in the room, come join the team, but don't be in the way. Stay tuned, join that Patreon, we do giveaways. Magnetic and ATM, you know they on a different wave. Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, pick a day. This South Harmon, you know that we glad you here today. This not an AMA. This not an AMA. This not an AMA. Short recap about the games. This is the play-by-play.
You shouldn't have buried me. I'm not dead. Take it serious.
Yeah.
Hello, Michael.
Hi.
This is your wake-up call.
What's gonna happen?
I'm afraid that was a wrong answer.
Oh shit.
What's happening to my face?
Hey yo!
Burning me?
Your soul is mine.
Yes, sir. Gibson is not it, for the record. But Mike has been a truther. Andrew is here while Mike is not. And Andrew, listen, man, I don't know if you caught that, but everybody there, appreciate you tapping in. Recap this week. Next week we have the hologram for Halloween Crazy Special. Andrew, maybe I did it for the greater good. I put that in there, kind of giving a teaser, try to get people in the door next weekend, and Freddie really came for him, buddy. And I'm actually okay with it. I've been every week coming here like, just can we get anybody else? Believe it or not, there were some signs of life. So, how are you doing, buddy? Appreciate you hopping on. And what are your thoughts on, I guess this week in general, but more so the Browns in this Watson situation?
Yeah, I mean, look. First and foremost, how am I doing? I'm doing okay. As good as I can do today. I saw my Vikings take the first loss of the season. You know what? It was to Detroit. You got the jersey on. I don't know if that's,
that
was a little bit of spite there.
I'm sorry about that. I didn't even catch that. I've been hearing people in the streets kind of giving that little Gibbs stuff. This is more about Gibbs. I think Gibbs and Monty can survive at the same time. I didn't even realize, and it's so funny because people's dynamic of me and you is so misjudged, and the fact that I wore this is hilarious now. My bad, dog. That's actually pretty funny.
It's just perfect timing, I think. But yeah, I mean, I watched them take their first L. It's It's not a bad thing. You got that one out of the way. Now we can look at all the W's in the future. So I'm not really too worried about that. What do I think about Watson though? I mean, shit. It would be.
Give me the real.
The Cleveland front office and Deshaun, they might have had this coming. They might be paying for their sins at the moment.
Yeah, they might be. I mean, listen, I think the thing is that he wasn't going to come off the field otherwise. I don't believe. I think the owner was just going to keep forcing him out there, and we're just going to keep getting like this gross. I'm not sure. The offense isn't any better probably right now. We will get Winston. By the way, he came in, and when he did get in, it was Winston's not playing. So he was a healthy scratch, which ended up being with the Watson injury. We got the showing up of one DTR, which I'm not excited about, and we don't have to continue to watch. We got Jameis coming in next week. It's a torn Achilles, basically signed, sealed, and delivered. The thing about the torn Achilles, I don't know, Andrew, if you've ever been around it. Kind of crazy because it sounds like a gunshot. Have you ever been right near when one happens? It really does. The loudness on the pop. And like you think someone kicked you in the back of the leg. Like you think something weird as hell happened, almost like kind of Halloween trippy, and this is a torn Achilles. It's not a there's no in between on this. It's done.
Yeah, I mean, look, every guy who does it knows that they did it. Whether they knew it at that exact moment or not, or whether they wanted to believe it or not, they know they did it. Kirk knew it. Aaron knew it.
Yeah.
Deshaun, he knows it. But I think this might be, best for you guys, because when I'm looking at this, like, it was either you make that decision of pulling him off of the field, which, like you said, they might have never done it because of the optics of pulling Deshaun off the field after what you've committed to him in the first place.
Yeah.
But now you don't have to make that decision. They made it for you, and now maybe Deshaun ain't even the quarterback next year for Cleveland.
Whew. Well, I mean, he's not. Here's the thing. If Freddie didn't come for him, this was going to continue to be a slow play where Haslam is a businessman, right? And certain businessmen get in the way of their own success as the team goes. Kevin Stefanski was like any other person that has a job. He was being told to go up there every single week, and this is, we're going to – here, let me give you a little snippet. Let me give you a clip.
Yeah, we're not changing quarterbacks. We need to play better. I need to coach better, and that's really what it is.
Now, see, the funny part about this is kind of not as funny because this was going to be a broken record, right? This was week 5 that I have this, and it was every single week we're going to hear the same thing because Haslam was telling him what to do. Just doing his job. But now we at least get to see if anything else can happen. The thing about the Cincinnati matchup is Stefanski actually has had this team's number. Like, it's hard to believe how much. And the fact that the fact that this is even game with our horrible team out there, buddy, is kind of hard to even think about, frankly. Did you see much of this game? What was your thoughts on David Njoku showed up in a big way? I didn't expect Watson to not be there, so I think there's part of that as well. But what are your thoughts?
For sure. I mean, I think it's just funny, too, that David continues to show up every time Watson is not on the football field. Like last year, his best games were when Joe Flacco was under center. And this year, the best game for David Njoku to date is when Deshaun Watson leaves the game early. It's just he had a great day, man. I mean, 10 for 76 in this one with the 14 targets. That's in a tight end landscape, the way that the tight end landscape is right now. I mean, we can't ask for anything more. This is everything you could have wanted. This is Midas touch, the gold on the tight end position. And you actually had him against me in our idiot league mates. So, I was watching those points go up every single reception, and I'm just like, when is this going to stop? When is this going to stop for me?
I mean, what's dude, my tight end position every single week so far in that league, for the record, has been just I've picked the wrong one a couple times, which I shouldn't even have to, okay? It's bad roster construction or just not being able to get somebody. But I'm like, you know what, man? I actually feel like all this terrible things that have happened, this might be actually good for Njoku. I don't know how good it's going to be. So I dropped Schultz and I dropped Noah Fant. And Noah Fant's been playing good, but I'm perfectly fine because if this is the case, we saw Flacco was much better for Watson. That too, but for Njoku. And I'm thinking the target volume might be there. This isn't going to come every week, but the target volume I think will come. I'm kind of curious to see what it looks like with Jameis. If you remember, back in the Bucs days, Jameis actually wasn't the greatest. Getting O.J. Howard was a guy everybody was really excited for, and never really happened with him, but it would happen with Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think Njoku is one of the only weapons they have. However, while I do believe that's the case, dude, what is your – Cedric Tillman is a thing now. That happened. Like 80 yards.
Is he a thing, dude?
Well, here's what I'll say. He was a thing for the week. I'm kind of preluding and asking you, are you buying it because – dude, he was a top 10 receiver this week with a shitty offense. That's kind of hard to believe, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Am I buying it? No, I'm not. I probably not moving forward. I mean, if we see it again, maybe, but I'm just not gonna be the one to react. We have a sample size here of what, 2+ years at this point?
No, I mean, well, that's the thing. Well, you know what? Can I tell you? I'm not actually making this case for Cedric Tillman, but I did that same argument with JMO, and it hurts me a little bit because I got rid of all my JMO shares pretty much. I don't think it's happening. I don't think
too. I'm guilty of that one too.
I don't think it's going to happen like as a lineup staple, just throw him in. But I do think in best ball leagues, I'm certainly this is a guy that I was getting ready to probably cut on a few rosters, and I'm intrigued now. And I'll say, you don't have to buy for anything.
Gave you a sign of life.
Yeah, dude. It's funny because I know the beat reporter here, Zach Jackson. He went to the rival high school I went to school with, and he was telling me, like, I always ask him when he puts a little report out, just kind of prying, like, what do you know here? And he kind of tells me it's just what he's hearing. But Cedric Tillman was going to be, speaking of Haslam, a guy they drafted. They've drafted other guys. The speed wide receiver that I can't think of his name. He's so bad. He got Baker hurt. They won't let go of their bad picks. So I was like, all right, why are we making this guy the wide receiver too, with Judy and all that? But I don't know if I'm buying this long term, but it was a lot of targets today. I think it's DTR. I think when Jameis is in, though, that's going to change a lot of things for me personally. So even though Amari's gone, I wouldn't get over your skis here. You got some life, to Andrew's point, but let's pump the brakes, I think is where I'm at.
I mean, how about Nick Chubb finding the end zone, first one back?
Dude, you know what's crazy? Is of all the people I already assumed I had a Nick Chubb because he's so good, but it's like, dude, no, you didn't have a Nick Chubb. He wasn't going to play for a while. I don't have a Nick Chubb hologram. That's ridiculous. I have a jersey in the background you can't see. I will say, though, it was tough sledding aside from the touchdown for him today. I don't know if you caught much of the game. Dude, this offensive line is so bad, too.
I mean, they're all backups, right? Like, you're playing with all the backups.
Yes, correct. So it's to be expected, but it just – I guess I can't really understate how. Let's get to the other side. Let's get to the Bengals. We got performances from the two people that we expected to get performances from, I guess. The receivers. Let's start with Ja'Marr Chase. What do you think of Ja'Marr? I mean, obviously you think good of him, but he had a top 15 performance today, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, you want to know what's crazy, though, is he is still working behind T. Higgins. Since T. Higgins has come back from that hamstring injury, he has out-targeted. He has had more receptions. He has scored more fantasy points than Ja'Marr Chase, it feels like at times. So, I don't know, man. T. Higgins, we kept talking about him, I think, in the offseason as, like, this number 2, but why can the kid not be a 1B? 1A, maybe? Well,
that's it. He's always been a 1B, okay? But the truth is, I guess when Ja'Marr Chase is really locked in and it's him and Burrow kind of having that chemistry, on those games he'll give you the moon shot. But the reason I actually went this way is because T. Higgins, man, has been a guy I'm kind of getting, I don't know how to put this other than I'm kind of getting a little bit bullish on him as long as he's healthy in this current situation. I feel like because he wants out of there so bad, he's gotta like play his way out. He feels like, and
he's playing for that contract,
brother. He looks like 2-3 years ago a little bit, where like he doesn't look like he's nagging any injuries. He looks the part, and I think I'm not worried about Ja'Marr Chase. I just think that T. Higgins is a little bit slept on. The rest of this offense though today did absolutely nothing for you. Zeros, like literally didn't help you at all.
You didn't have anything really out of the running backs. You didn't have anything. Yeah, it was just not a great day in general from pretty much anybody. But, hey, the wide receivers showed up, and that's pretty much what most of us care about in Cincinnati anyways.
Yeah. I didn't actually see where he finished because the 4 o'clocks were on. I don't think it was all that high. I'll pull it up here on my other for Joe Burrow. And he's had some big weeks. I think here's what I will say. I would not be overly worried if you're a Joe Burrow owner because, let me put him up on the screen. I love this little shady, little Slim Shady too. All right. Get Joe Burrow up there. Joey Burr. The thing is, the Browns, like I said, have had Stefanski and Taylor. Stefanski's had his number. If you don't believe me, just go look at the game logs the last 3-4 years. It's been a large majority of the times a snooze fest for this offense. So I wouldn't panic on Burrow. This has just been the way it's gone. One thing I will ask is for Chase Brown, what are you thinking?
I mean, look, this backfield is messy. I think Chase, he's the 1A for me now. I think they've flipped. I know that there's some argument that maybe it's Moss hasn't been healthy. I just think he's been outplayed. This is a guy that I'm going to view the rest of the way as a middling running back 2 who's going to have his boom weeks in this offense. But other than that, that's the way I'm going to view him.
Yeah, I think sometimes weeks like this I think are needed for certain players. And it's not – I have no problem with Chase Brown. I think he's a nice player. And when he's been getting the work that he's been getting lately, you're getting excited, and rightfully so. I think sometimes you need to pump brakes type week. Because after Zach Moss last week, I think people were ready to – we need to, like, unleash Chase Brown. He's going to be getting crazy, crazy high. He's going to have weeks like this. He's a running back that gives you upside weekly because of his, speed and all that. But I think you have to – when you put him in your lineup, you should be not feeling like he's guaranteed, set it and forget it, top 15 running back every single week.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I don't want to take us too far off course, but you see that tweet from Schefter there?
I didn't, but this is one of my favorite things. If you guys are not privy to this, because you're not, we don't normally do content on the South Harmon side. Andrew gives me, I don't even need to get, I'm not an X person, but Andrew is my like updates on X. So please tell me, I'm curious.
Adam Schefter, 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan tells reporters that the team is worried Brandon Aiyuk has torn his ACL.
Brother,
yeah,
pay that man his money. He got his bag. That's crazy. That's horrible, dude. Oh, I have him in so many dynasty leagues. I'm actually, today. If that's actually true, that is going to. My day has been terrible. Like for fantasy purposes, I'm playing Andrew. Before we start, my entire quarterback room just completely goes to shit. I had to pick up Mason Rudolph and play him this week. That's how bad we're in the dumps. Okay.
No. You went Aiden O'Connell.
Oh, and I'm sorry. That's correct. I decided to try and see if there was an upgrade with Aiden O'Connell. There was actually 2 options out there that nobody wanted. That's how bad it was. It was, and I didn't pick the right one probably. Aiden O'Connell was terrible. For the record, this is going to make it a lot worse because in Dynasty my teams have been doing pretty well, but that is going to be that sucks. That's terrible.
Yeah, I am significantly overexposed to Brandon Aiyuk this offseason, and I actually made a video on my channel where I talked about like player exposures and what I felt like could go right and could go wrong with the exposures that I have in those leagues.
Okay.
Yeah, Brandon Aiyuk was my number 1 rostered player. There's no player I had more exposure to than Brandon Aiyuk this year, and
really,
that's gonna stop.
You know what's crazy? As much as we talk about so much shit, like Andrew and I just yap with each other all the time. I think somehow I knew you had a lot of Aiyuk. I'm not going to act like I didn't. I didn't realize it was number 1, clear cutting away. So
he was number. I mean, look, man, I've defended this guy with my life at this point.
No, I know.
Like,
So they're out of order.
You think Aiyuk's my son?
Buddy, the crazy part is for that to be the case, you probably because you weren't seeing Mike and I've been really high on Aiyuk for a long time. I was there early in the early days. When people were trying to push him up the ranks, probably a little too far. Then he went in the Shanahan doghouse, and I was fighting again. Finally got back, and after last year, it's like, all right, he solidified himself where I've been telling you he's belonged. That's what I've been feeling. And he did, and then he had, unfortunately, the holdout, which is going to, really slow production early. If that's a torn Achilles, or we have a torn Achilles as well today, but if that's a torn ACL, dude, I'll tell you it's a nightmare on Elm Street, man. This season has been a disaster for injuries, bro.
Good thing they drafted Ricky Pearsall and he was activated today.
You know what? The Joker card, speaking of which, I'll go ahead and make that now. I felt like it was just out of pocket. I'm making a lot of different holograms and ways to tie in like scary movie themes and transitions. I'm going to see if I can get that Ricky P in there now because I felt like he was always, in Dynasty at least, like he was this Joker card where for the large majority of the time, if everything's going right for Frisco, you probably can't do nothing with it. But all of a sudden, like we've seen all these guys be hurt. Aiyuk's pretty much been the one that's been not as hurt. Knock on wood, hopefully it's not. But all it takes is one injury, and then all of a sudden there's a massive opportunity opened. The other thing, though, to keep in mind is does that really go to him, or is Juwan Jennings going to be back to Nick the GOAT? The dude had 47 points that game.
Could be Juwan. It could be Jacob Cowing. Jacob Cowing is a guy I liked out of Arizona too. Like I don't know, man. There's a lot of people there.
I'm curious to see if Cowing can hold off a guy like Pearsall. That's a good point, though.
Yeah, but I mean, definitely, no matter what, they're sending out the bat signal right now, trying to find somebody to come play. Sure. Alongside Debo and Kittle.
Well, I don't have a Pearsall pulled up because they're outside of an injury like that, there'd be no reason. Juwan Jennings will have a opportunity to get a lot more snap share and all that. Kittle's been having a great year. Today wasn't really. I guess here's the thing. You probably feel like with George Kittle it wasn't that great, but he was still a top 8 tight end. So I feel we got to give Kittle some respect, and I wanted to talk about this because dude, he's been a guy that I think a lot of people feel like is very boom or bust, right? And that's been true. But this year, his floor is tight end 9 and tight end 10. So if you're telling me right now, like especially with Aiyuk's injury, so he's going to be a top 10 tight end in the worst case scenario. But when he goes off, he goes the fuck off. George Kittle, man, again, for him and for Debo and for CMC, there's been different injury history, so knock on wood. But Brandon Aiyuk's injury, I don't think it affects Kittle too much, but I think his upside might even be a touch higher, and he's got a good floor right now.
Oh, it should be. And I think, look, man, the thing with Kittle is whenever there's been two of the star players on the field, and that's either Debo and Kittle or Aiyuk and Kittle, it doesn't really matter. Whenever it's been two of them, Kittle's been very good. And I think the rest of the way now we're going to be looking at Debo and Kittle, and maybe CMC is back here in the next couple of weeks, maybe, but that should only help them in the receiving game because they'll have a little bit more in the ground game. But I think he's going to be – I mean, I think he's got an argument. He has to have an argument to finish as the number one tight end this year, doesn't he?
Not just an argument. He not only has an argument, he has a seat at the table that I will be his lawyer. I will be vying for him to do that. I think right now in standard scoring, he is the one. It's all going to come down to health. I really believe this game of attrition is getting gross early. But man, I'm telling you this. George Kittle is – this is the other thing. He's tight end 9 only because this is since week 1, he's had a touchdown or 2 in every single game. So he had 92 yards and just no TD. So count your blessings if you were trying to move Kittle, you were panicked all offseason, and then you couldn't, and you have him now. So if you do have him, I'll say this. I'm liquidating the tight end position as a whole, but Kittle, because of his boom upside, you'd have to pay me probably well above what market is. And outside of that, I don't really care for the most part about a lot of tight ends this year. Brock Bowers, at his price, is so much different where you can probably ask the moon for. What about Jordan Mason? And then we'll pivot over to KC here.
Yeah, I mean, look, Jordan Mason this week, I did not have high expectations for him. The matchup versus Kansas City is tough. They just take out your number one wide receiver and they make it hard to run against. That's just kind of the way that Spagnuolo has made this defense for them. His day, I think, was pretty mediocre for the most part. Yeah. Nothing really special, but he's a guy that you probably should have sold by now. And if you haven't, you probably are running out of time very quickly.
No, I mean, well, I think for me at least,
we might be out of time.
Well, you are. I think at this point, you just kind of have to ride it out. There's a range of outcomes still where he had 14 touches. It wasn't great today. I think the reality is his boom that we were seeing early is probably not something that's you should be penciling in and counting on. I think people – it's funny how this happens, but people haven't got comfortable. Like, this guy's going to be a top 5 running back chance every single week. I'm not saying in this offense he can't still do that, but I think you're seeing some of the downsides to a guy like Jordan Mason. And also, I don't think this is a coincidence that – a guy that's getting this many touches, getting a shoulder injury, the NFL is a grind, man. Guys that are used to getting no touches going to this, it's a big jump. So I think that probably plays into it. I think he's an RB2 moving forward. And I think people that hopefully you didn't invest significant actual draft capital into him to find out now that he's an RB2. So I can't fix that for you. That's kind of what it is now.
Right. I think it's kind of funny, too, because I've been paying attention to some of the feedback we've been getting on our weekly rankings that we've been doing over on BDG. And some people have been saying, because 3-4 weeks ago, we had Mason as like RB3, and then he kind of came down to RB5. And last week, he was like RB9 or something like that. Like, he just keeps kind of coming down.
Yeah, we had him pretty low last week. Absolutely. He's a faller. Yeah. He's a faller.
And he's been coming down, and people have been saying, like, are you guys crazy? There's no way Jordan Mason is going to keep falling down the rankings. And it's like, well, look, there's a reason why he's falling down the rankings, and it ain't because we hate him. It's because the production ain't been the same as it was a month ago.
Yeah, I mean, preach. I had no problem with Jordan Mason. I didn't have enough of him, but, like, the cost, I think, got out of hand pretty quick because of his start. So it was a hard play for me where I get it. I'm all about at the running back position, the 1 year bet. I was even leery at the 1 year bet price, frankly, because the other thing is too, we saw the shoulder injury he's playing now. God forbid, and we've seen so many running backs that have been in this offensive system where they get hurt. So then if he gets hurt, now you're completely dead in the water. His value goes to absolutely nothing if he gets hurt. So there's no value retention with a guy like this.
I mean, these types of players, man, like if I don't have them on my roster when that breakout kind of happens, I just never get them because I just don't pay the price for the short term for those guys. Yeah,
honestly, one of the things I've been with Jordan Mason, I don't ever feel like the price actually was there. It happened so quickly. When some things like that happen, like Puka was a guy that I actually got in where it felt uncomfortable earlier. It's like some of those just in shares and having a bunch of different leagues, I'm like, I probably should just get a couple shares of this because this is so crazy. But if you don't get in at that on the earlier part of the rise, you're going to have a hard time without feeling like you're leveraging your actual future in Dynasty, getting a hold of them. So let's do this. Mike would love to see this. I didn't have him last week, but we got him this week. Not Antonio Gibson back. Drake Maye.
Dang.
Drake Maye had a blow up, and I think I'm gonna. I still want to see more, but I will say I feel like I'm on pace to be eating my words with Drake Maye on the contending side. I've loved the talent, honestly. I just was kind of, even recently when he got the job, of the mindset that if I'm contending, I'm kind of willing to, sell off of the dynasty value here and pivot elsewhere. Man, Drake Maye, I know it's a London game, but right now he's quarterback 10 and quarterback 3 in standard leagues for the first 2 weeks of the year. And I will say it's not just that. Like the points he's scoring are in the range and the way he's playing. They're letting him kind of air it out. Where this guy I think has a chance to actually be in a bad quarterback field. I'm not going to say a huge difference maker, but certainly in the more meaningful range. He's looked good 2 weeks in a row. I know it's versus Jacksonville, but 2 weeks in a row he's looked good. What do you think?
Look, man, I don't want to get over the skis, like you say. I don't want to get over the skis, but I sent a text message this morning to one of my good buddies. It was 10:03 in the morning. I'm talking about Drake Maye looks damn good. And that's the text message coming out. And I'm like, this QB class in general has been amazing for us. But he's reminding me very much of like rookie Josh Allen, rookie Justin Herbert. Like this is kind of what I'm seeing. And he doesn't even have that type of help around him, I think, at the wide receiver position. Whereas like Justin Herbert was throwing to Keenan Allen and Mike Williams.
That's where I thought you were going to go the first time. Yeah, Justin Herbert. I feel like the jersey number 2, everything. Aside from the weapons, to your point.
He's throwing to Jalen Polk, and he's dropping everything that the light touches. Jalen Polk looks horrendous. But it is just
dang.
I love everything that I've seen out of Drake Maye. He's a guy that, like, you're talking about when you have that guy that you can get in early and the price might feel uncomfortable. I'm comfortable going in and getting uncomfortable on the price on Drake Maye right now.
100%. You leave me in the trenches taking grenades, Corey. He's messing with me on the. If you know, you know. Mike was saying Andrew was all of 14 towards the end of the AMA the other. I don't know. It was months ago now. It's hilarious. Still, the vibes are high on that one here at South Harmon. I love how Corey he always sends me. He's like telling me he never watches content, but he'll give you that just like when you don't need the comment. Yeah, the little like comment just to know he loves you. Yeah, I'm with you on Drake Maye. I feel that, to your point, man, this Jalen Polk thing, I got out of a lot of shares of him because there was a lot of just like you could basically move him for real second prices, right? And it's similar to Drake Maye, just a higher investment with Maye, where I'm kind of just willing to. I like the talent of Polk, for the record, but I'm kind of willing to just roll that out and go get someone I'm trying to win with. Polk's, I don't know. I'm not thinking and feeling any type of warm and fuzzies. I'm feeling quite the opposite on the short term for him. And in Dynasty, I think this is a good example of when we're looking all offseason, which is a long time, at like young players in Dynasty, and you're looking at players that are ascending in the Dynasty ranks. They don't always correlate to fantasy production, and there's a flaw there that I've had to learn the hard way. I'm sure I'm not alone. You don't have to admit it. We all know. So, Andrew, I think you kind of alluded to this too. I don't know if you had any further thoughts on Polk.
Yeah, I mean, I I don't love Jalen Polk. I didn't really like Jalen Polk's talent pre-draft process, and I think the draft capital got everybody a little bit more excited in him, myself included. Like when I saw second-round draft capital, I was like, okay, this is better than I thought he could get. And obviously you see the opportunity wide open. There's really nobody there, but I don't want to say that I'm out on Jalen Polk, but yeah, I mean, I didn't love him in the pre-draft, and then the draft capital got me in there, and now I'm like, okay, I might have been right here where I didn't like what I saw.
Yeah, fair. I mean, and the other thing is, I think at this point you're kind of stuck. I don't know unless you're just selling off really cheap. Someone's buying really super low. Kind of asking this guy as a throw-in. Speaking of low, this was supposed to be a juicy matchup for the big rhinoceros. I tell you what, I think I've individually killed the Rhino here. He come off running back 7, running back 13, 25 and 21 carries with almost 30 touches in week 2. I called him the modern day bell cow, to which he is now getting slaughtered. That's what type of bell cow he is. It's gross, man. It is gross. Seven carries versus a Jags defense that's been great for the running back position, and that doesn't go any better for Gibson. It's been ugly.
Yeah, I don't like what I saw out of Ramondre today, obviously, but he also burned my ticket, man. I put a ticket in this morning on the London game just to give myself some just a little bit of extra on the game, some reason to watch it.
Sure.
I didn't have any players playing in it. And I debated the last leg of it. Everything else hit. It was the under. It was, Jacksonville money line. I was debating between Tank Bigsby anytime and Ramondre anytime. And I went with Ramondre, and I should have went with Tank. I should have known better.
It happens to the best of us. It happens to the worst of us. It happens to all of us. I'll tell you what, man. You and I did this because I knew he was going to be the number 1 scorer on the week at the flex spot. I felt that strongly, and I've been waiting for this for the Gibbs. But we'll slow play this because similar to Joe Mixon, like this running back class of 2017 is just absolutely. This type of stuff doesn't happen. Aaron Jones, we were saying week to week, week to week, meaning I was getting ready uncomfortably to have a 2 to 3 weeks still missing from this guy. He plays today. He didn't just come play. He came to play. Like, man, this might have been the biggest surprise for me out of everything this week aside from injuries. This was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the same boat as you. I think even when we were in New York this last week, like you guys were kind of asking me about what I've heard about Aaron Jones, and it was, I don't know, in the bye week, they felt like this was going to be multiple weeks, and out of the bye week, here he is. One of his first touches, he's taking it outside all the way to the end zone. Like, right. I mean, come on, man.
Bro, it was like, I finally realized, when I realized he's going to be in the lineup, I was getting my kind of mindset around like, what are we going to see? Before you could even see anything, to your point, he's taken off, having a great. Detroit has been kind of the running back killer in fantasy. Aaron Jones on 14 carries, almost 100 yards, 93 yards, also has 3 receiving catches. He caught all 3 of his targets. Top 10 running back on the week, dude, coming off of that injury, like where we don't expect him to play, man. That is, the 2017 class is just so long ago. That's the year I got married that year. These guys are out here like destroying all the young guns. Injured, now we're back. Joe Mixon, high ankle. That don't faze me. It's crazy what's happening right now. That's one of the good things for your Vikings. I know it was a loss, but it's regular season loss, man.
I mean, it was one of the good things. The good news is it looks like we're going to be playing come playoffs anyway, so it shouldn't really be too big taking an L today. But sure. At the end of the day, man, I mean, it just Aaron Jones, he looked good. I even think too, we kind of got fooled too because Minnesota made the midweek move in the bye week to go get Cam Akers, and it's like, should this be a red flag?
I'll tell you what, if you haven't watched me, you don't know. You had to watch like probably a couple years ago too. I've been one of the biggest Cam Akers fans, but apparently the Minnesota Vikings are equally, if not greater, fans of Cam Akers as I am. If you know Aaron Jones has a chance to play this week, you're making that trade. You got Ty Chandler on the roster. It's crazy. That's crazy. They love that dude, bro. Coming off they traded for him a second time off an Achilles. Interesting.
O'Connell
I know it
has been
didn't
with him
cost
for
him
so long,
anything,
man.
but just crazy. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, O'Connell was with him when he was in Los Angeles. I think O'Connell was there when they drafted him in Los Angeles.
He was for all we know and what I'm starting to see, he probably was half the reason, if not all the reason they drafted him in Los Angeles. Like
And they're
he
just
loves
buddies.
him,
They're
this
just
dude.
reuniting.
You know?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I picked him up in a redraft league that he was sitting out there, and I don't know how I feel. I don't feel anywhere near like I used to feel before the Akers trade, and then after seeing this, it's like, damn, no, that never happened.
Yeah.
If Aaron Jones is looking like this, we're in trouble.
My redraft.
Yeah, I'm about to drop him right back. You're right. What about last thing I will ask you real quick on this Vikes? What about Darnold here for fantasy purposes?
Yeah, I mean, Darnold for fantasy purposes, the day was, I think, fine. It wasn't a bad day by any means, but obviously there's going to be some better days. That defense is tough in Detroit, even without Aiden Hutchinson. It's a tough defense. I was really with a tough start-sit decision in one of my leagues earlier today. I traded for Darnold maybe 30 minutes before game time, and I'm sitting there looking at, should I go Jared Goff or should I go Sam Darnold in this matchup as my QB2 in the super flex? I ended up going with Sam Darnold. I probably should have went with Jared Goff, but I think he's fine. He's still going to have a good year the rest of the way. The schedule gets a little bit easier for Minnesota too going down the stretch, so I think they're like middle of the pack as far as strength of schedule goes the rest of the way. And so I still like Darnold.
No, I do too. I wasn't trying to come off as it was a bad thing, because I feel like unless you're paying a lot of attention, you may not realize he currently is a top 10 quarterback for the week in just standard scoring. So it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think at this point, one of the things to think about with Darnold in Dynasty especially, if we're talking about just redraft, which most people here are playing Dynasty leagues, not saying they don't play redraft, but in redraft, who gives a shit? I don't care what happens next year at all. But in Dynasty, I think one of the things that gets difficult and muddled and where people don't want to buy in with Darnold is what happens next year. Well, I can tell you right now that there's a guy, Jacoby Brissett, who, because of years ago, has earned himself into bridge starting quarterback jobs. Sam Darnold right now is earning himself a starting job somewhere. And I don't know if it could be in Minnesota, but he is guaranteeing himself in this dumpster fire of a quarterback land that we got Mason Rudolph starting for another team while the Steelers are, I mean, it's bad out there. Sam Darnold is going to get a contract somewhere. He's playing really good football. So I'm not worried too much about the future because he's playing right now. And I still don't think his price is reflective of him being a, future actual starter.
I 100% agree. And the reason why I said, I traded for him before the game, I'd been trying to get that deal done for 2-3 weeks. It just wasn't the right time, wasn't the right place. But then the manager finally decided he needed to shed some extra points off the roster. He wanted to shed Darnold. I think Darnold, he's going to be a starting quarterback next year. He's going to earn himself into a contract kind of similar to, in my opinion, it'll be the very same type of trajectory as a guy like Baker Mayfield had when he went to Tampa. Get that deal, go play for the starting job, and then get the long-term extension after that. I think that's what Darnold can do. And I think he's shown, he has some of that talent still as to why he was drafted in the top 3 of the NFL draft. He hasn't had the right situations. He hasn't had the right coaching. I think this year's a good year that he's gaining some confidence back in himself as a professional quarterback, and it's only going to help him long-term. And you're right. You can buy him cheaper now and probably get 2+ years out of starting quarterback numbers from Sam Darnold.
Yeah, spit. That's facts.
I don't even think you have to give a first for him, to be honest. I don't think many people will make you give a first for him.
Okay. I'm kind of curious to see what happens. I think every league's going to be kind of differentiating between who's owning them, but I think there are some managers that are like, listen, you're going to have to you have to give me a first to move off of them, basically like kind of piss off. But I think if people are actually interested in moving Darnold, you're right. You could probably, maybe you send something similar in value, but it's not an actual first or a pick that has to be similar. We're going to get to Detroit in a second. All right. I'm going to save that a little bit because what I want to talk about here is the Giants real quick. All right. Pivoting from, I'm curious where you're at on this. All right. I think we all know that the Giants are not very good and that this was coming. There's also a Saquon revenge game, and that I think for the whole team meant a lot. But I was hoping for much more from, especially Malik. I think everybody kind of was. This offense was terrible, dude. This was a absolute bludgeoning of the Giants today.
Yeah, I mean, not great, but you're right. It was kind of a team that we all knew was probably too good to be true. It wasn't that great of an offense in general.
Right.
I think here's the thing, man. Daniel Jones is not going to be the quarterback of this team next year. They've already shown us that they are more than comfortable moving off of him. All of those conversations that we saw in Hard Knocks in the summer of them potentially looking at Jaden Daniels and potentially looking at some of the other quarterbacks in this class, I think they already wanted to do it. Now they're going to be forced to do it, especially with another year of that contract off of the books. And one other thing, from this game in general, just take away from the offense, even though it was bad, Devin Singletary in the lineup, Tyrone Tracy in the lineup. Tyrone Tracy has the better day of those guys. Is there an argument here that Tyrone Tracy could potentially be the 1A in this backfield moving forward, even if Singletary is healthy?
I think there's certainly a case. I'm not sure I'm ready to go quite there yet, but what I will tell you is, regardless, man, it's bad for either one right now. I think we need to see the offense be better overall, Andrew. I'm sorry, I'm trying to plug my laptop in before it dies over here.
You're good.
This offense, I want to see hopefully not continue to be this terrible moving forward to really give a shit about either. I think I was worried about Singletary more so than the offense before this week. And to your point, I think it's only 1 week, but I think this is a good thing if you're a Tyrone Tracy owner for what his share can be in this backfield. And they paid Singletary. I don't think he's going away, but I think there's a chance he could be the 1A. I think there's a chance if he keeps playing his ass off, he can earn that. I'm just hopeful that these weeks don't.
Singletary's contract wasn't great, right? Yeah, I mean, it's pretty minimal.
It was, I think, it is. I think in general, relative to the entire running back landscape, it was not that bad. But to your point, relative to the team in the cap, like most running back contracts, I'll pull it up here. It was decent for the free agency market. I'm not going to act like they have some kind of ties where they can't move on from it. It was a 3-year deal for 16.5. So, and then get out after 2 years. But it was enough for them to say, like, we're planning to invest in him. That plans change all the time. The Browns planned for Watson to be here until he died. He's not going to do that. So I'm with you on Tyrone Tracy.
He died today.
Well, yeah, where he came from. Bro, I'm still like, I can't believe that. I know it has absolutely nothing to do with it, but if you know anything about over here, sometimes weird shit happens. You're starting to catch on to the jersey thing. It's not great sometimes when we can bring pain to people's days. I like Tyrone. I don't really care about these other receivers, honestly, man. Even if full PPR, Wandale to me kind of feels a little bit gimmicky. Where are you at with like Wandale or anyone else in the offense?
Yeah, I'm the same way with Wandale. He was a guy that I saw some of his separation scores and stuff earlier in the offseason, and one of the best, I guess, view count YouTube shorts we did this offseason was about Wandale and why you should buy him low.
Yeah.
He's I agree. He's a gimmicky kind of usage player right now. It's just not. It's not. I don't think it's sustainable. I mean, he had what, 20 yards, 20 yards today on 6 catches. Oh, we don't got your audio now.
How about now? We back? All right. Yeah,
Back
I'm out here.
now.
I'm out here trying to mess up everything. That's what I do. But I'm with you. Wandale doesn't carry a lot of upside. I kind of want to move on from this team real quickly to let's get to Saquon, man. Saquon and this Eagles team. Let's pull them up. Nick has to be sweating it, man, on the on the drive, dude. This guy is the amount. Here's the thing. I don't actually care how many times he ends up winning me a jersey. Of course, I'd love to win the bet. The amount of times right now that he has popped off to where it's a happenstance and chance that he goes plus that. We ain't even in. Where are we at right now? We're literally in week 7. We have attrition everywhere. This dude is he's only gotten it once, but 60 yards is a long run. This guy has had, I think now 4 or no, maybe 3 50-yard plus 50 yards. And then
I think it's
multiple,
been 3, and you got to count, he had a bye week.
Right. And he's coming off of some slow weeks too. Like let's just say this. He's had his down weeks, as we all know, but dude, like, I don't know. I think Saquon Barkley is one of these guys where you have him, and unfortunately, it hurt me this time around. But Saquon Barkley, man, is when Sirianni's not on his bullshit, he is a problem for I think fantasy football. He's that dude. He's playing unbelievable right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's as good of a case as anybody to finish as the RB1 this year, and I think you're right. It comes down to Sirianni trying to get too damn smart for his own self at times.
Mike would be going crazy right now. Mike hates Sirianni. He's an Eagles fan. I'm listening. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I really dislike Sirianni as well. I just think he's a cornball, man. I think he is so corny. But at the end of the day, look, they got a talented offense, and it's hard to stop A.J. Brown. It's hard to stop Saquon Barkley, Devonta Smith, Jalen Hurts when they're all on. I mean, they're one of the best offenses in football when they're on.
For sure. No question about it, man. Okay, so let me ask you this then. Pivoting here to the rest of the team. A.J. Brown is another guy we just got to quickly touch on. It's not like you don't know this. You don't really need us telling you. But these two guys, I believe right now, if I'm redrafting, if we're just talking about for the season, dude, A.J. Brown is on pace even with this injury. When he's played, he is on pace to absolutely destroy fantasy. I don't think people quite realize that, which is hard to believe. His WARP, I was showing Nick we have WARP per game versus WARP, right? So WARP per game, when you take out the games he's missed, he was in his own little tier before this week. Like this guy is playing consistent and also having absolute menacing upside. Man, you talked about this. I know we were both kind of in lockstep. I was just talking about how the community reacts. But, man, remember we were talking about how much A.J. Brown felt like he had to be wide receiver 7 and was – now he's still not really necessarily near that. He's probably going to get there soon. But A.J. Brown's price dipped quite a bit this offseason, dude.
He was one of the clearest buys, I think, at the wide receiver position. And it was because he got to that age where everybody was like, he's not old, but he's going to be old. And we don't want him because he's going to be old, and there's all these young guys that we could still have above him. Yep. Dude, he was still going to be good. I mean, today's day, 5 catches for 89 yards and a touchdown, that feels like he went out and had an average day. That wasn't even a big day. And he's probably going to – what is it?
He
top
had
15?
Dude, he's going to be overall flex. You're talking overall flexes?
Yeah.
Let's see here. I just had it up. Give me 1 second. I'll tell you. I think it might have even been higher than that, man. So A.J. Brown
we're talking about a flex player.
Yeah. So right now, you were right. Actually, so in full PPR, he actually just got narrowed out by 0.1. Kareem Hunt and 0.1 is a funny thing for us here. Kareem Hunt got him in there, but still, you're telling me 20 points? Like he got 20 points, 19.9. So far, you
on
obviously
an average day.
You had a situation where in this season you may not have been able to handle it because he missed those 3 weeks. But wide receiver 7, wide receiver 3, wide receiver 5 right now in the 3 weeks he's played, and he's coming off of an injury. Like, put some respect on his name is all I'll say. That's the last and the only thing I have to say on A.J. Brown. I think let's talk quickly on Hurts, and then we can move off of this game here for us.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think really just a slow day. I mean, he only threw the football 14 times, dude. Like, he threw it 14 times, 114 yards, a touchdown. Not the best day. He still got the tush push in there too, I think.
Yeah.
So, or 2 of them. Was it 2 tush pushes or
was it 2? I only saw the one. There could have been 2.
He had 2 rushing touchdowns. I just can't remember if the second one was also a tush push to get in there. But
yeah.
I mean, his fantasy day turns out fine because of that on the ground, but through the air, I mean, it was pretty whatever.
Yeah,
they didn't have to do much though. I mean, we're talking about a game where the Giants scored 3 points. Yeah,
I was just gonna say that where I know for Jalen Hurts managers, you don't like to see that because I think there's some uneasiness with Jalen Hurts. Actually, I know there is. Mm-hmm. The crazy part is, to your point, he has 114 passing yards and 1 touchdown through the air. He is quarterback 2 on the day ahead of Drake Maye, who balled his ass off, and he had 7 carries with 2 touchdowns on the ground. The crazy part and the cool part I think about today, obviously they're not going to beat up on the Giants every week, Mike. I'm sorry to tell you. He already knows they're not doing that weekly. But to see Saquon Barkley as the running back too, and to see Jalen Hurts as the quarterback too, that to me was one of the things that actually that narrative this offseason kind of exists. Like, which one is going to take the dip and which one are you going to be buying into or out of? And I think that was reflective a lot of if there was panic, or I shouldn't say panic, if you weren't buying into Saquon Barkley, there was kind of the reasoning of the touchdown upside might not be there for quads. So I did that take. He had a touchdown today as well. Yeah, they're fine. They're absolutely fine. They're more than fine, dude. Come on.
Yeah, I remember getting in some debates this summer about how much Jason Kelce would eliminate the tush push, and it was just like, dude, I know Jason Kelce is as good as it gets when it comes to their position, but to think that they're not doing with a whole bunch of other guys to practice every week, and to think that they're going to get away from that after all of the success that they had in that, it's ridiculous. They're just going to keep tush pushing the hell out of Jalen Hurts every time they get on that goal line.
Facts.
Or hand it off to Saquon. Why not?
And why wouldn't you? And that's the other thing. Even if they don't do the tush push, you got a different back there than they had. Even Swift's been playing well, but that's not Barkley. Okay, let's get to this. A couple more games here before we get to the Lions. All right. So let's talk about the. I guess there's some games you kind of have to talk about. So I guess we'll just do it. You don't love it, but you just love it or list it. You got to deal with it, right? So we'll do that. We'll talk about the Titans and Mason Rudolph. All right. Tajay Spears is just. That's the old number. I think you should wish that he was the old number, the old situation. So funny how people were really getting pretty heavily bullish on him. I almost bought into the hype too. Thank God I didn't. Tony Pollard has come to absolutely wreck any of Tajay. I don't think it's even he was out this week, so there was that too. But this offense today was, I don't know. Where are you at with the Titans in general outside of Tony Pollard or even with Tony Pollard?
Nope. I mean, it starts and it ends with Tony Pollard for me. If it ain't one of those guys, or I guess if it ain't him, then I don't want any of them. And that's kind of just where I'm at. There's not going to be any good enough quarterback play if it's Rudolph, no matter if it's Levis, to support any of these wide receivers in Calvin Ridley or DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, look, Calvin Ridley went in last week and, the 8 targets was a trending topic. We saw some of the 8 targets. I don't even know if some of those were targets, but they counted on the stat sheet. He went out, he bitched about it. It didn't change. How does 3 catches on 9 targets that really aren't catchable either from Mason Rudolph? How's that sound, Calvin Ridley? You want to get out of here yet or not?
I mean, I'm sure he does. He also just kind of feels like he just got here, kind of like an Adams deal. But like the crazy part is I don't know if it did. Maybe it didn't. It was so bad, but it had to be better than Levis last week, dude. Horrible quarterback play. Mason Rudolph is not an exciting quarterback. I've seen enough of him to know that. I don't know, man.
Bro, how much more money did Tennessee have to give him for him to there had to be a second place bidder that was better than this. I mean, what made you choose Tennessee? It had to be significantly a lot more, right?
Well, why do you think that Watson? What's funny is hindsight 2020. Why do you think Watson actually decided to come to Cleveland versus all the other suitors he had at the time? Haslam paid that because he was spoiled just as much as Deshaun was. Deshaun wasn't coming to the mistake on the lake unless he was like, here, I'm going to give you an NBA contract in the NFL. That's what you probably have to do to get a guy like Calvin Ridley, which is insane given the fact that he was missed time with gambling and had some injury history. And they paid him a pretty penny, to your point. I think if you got a guy like Callahan, you had to try to do this. Levis was out today with an injury. I don't know, man. He's been horrible this year. It's a tough scene for the Tennessee Titans, brother. It's a tough scene. I think we can kind of pivot from this offense to the Bills, but you got to at least talk about it, even if you don't want to. It's Tony Pollard or nothing. It's funny, all offseason, is it going to be Pollard or Tajay? That conversation's long left, and then Nuke and who? Calvin Ridley, they're all nuked. It's trash, man. It's a tough scene, dude. It's really
Remember
tough.
when we all liked Chigakonkwo for like 5 seconds?
Yeah, I do. I unfortunately, what sucks is I really actually do remember that. All right. Well, speaking of 5 seconds, it was more than 5 seconds. And Amari Cooper, man, is a Buffalo Bill. Welcome. I couldn't be happier. I know you might think this is like me being, facetious, whatever. I couldn't be happier for the guy. Good. This team is a joke in Cleveland. Get him to a place where he can actually not feel like he's looking terrible and feeling like he doesn't want to play here. He scored a touchdown. I think for his first game there, actually looked pretty good. Curious what your thoughts are. I think if you wanted more than this, I don't know what the fuck you want. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, look, I didn't expect too much. I mean, coming in on a week like that where you have to learn a playbook and stuff, like I'm assuming he probably had a pretty limited playbook going into this one. But to go out there and go 4 for 66 and a touchdown, I mean, that's everything you could have asked for. And how about Coop? You know, the addition of actually having a number one wide receiver there. How about that? The benefit to Keon Coleman there.
Well, dude, that's what I was gonna get to. And you know what's funny is this one I'm leery of. Okay, but you earn it, man. Get the kid a blow up. His first blow up of the year comes with Amari Cooper. And like if he gets traded and you're saying okay he can't suit up because it's a short week, whatever. Nah, the kid went out there and balled. I'm still leery of what this consistency is going to be for him, but he's actually shown recently some pretty big playability. I think there's definitely real concerns about the separation. I think he has some development, and I don't know that that's ever going to happen, like what you maybe want Keon's true upside to be. But you can see that it's there, and I think he's going to have some inconsistency for sure, but I think he's still going to give you some weeks like this where he pops.
For sure. I mean, you know fully well how I felt about Keon pre-draft process.
Well, if I didn't, you were going to let me know for damn sure. The combine was awesome. Remember, you were giving it to me when that combine when he ran so slow. That was awesome.
I mean, look, it's very evident that, you know, what Keon Coleman has been at Florida State is this big play highlight type of wide receiver, but like you said, it comes with some inconsistency and some roughness around the edges at times where he needs to polish a lot of what he does at the wide receiver position. And I think, honestly, a guy like Amari Cooper coming into this offense could be the best thing possible for a guy like Keon Coleman. Not only from now Keon Coleman gets to see the number 2 option rather than seeing the number 1 at times. I think just learning from a guy like Amari Cooper and being able to hopefully, you know, be next to him and become a sponge and soak in, you know, the veteran leadership and kind of how he did the wide receiver position at the NFL. I think that's going to help Keon. Hopefully he does that. Maybe that's too narrative based and too, you know, real life focused when we're just talking fantasy. But at the end of the day, it's like that's what he needs to do if he wants to become a real reliable asset for our fantasy teams. But you see the flashes, man. I mean, you can't deny 125 yards on 4 catches. That's some big playability right there, baby.
Nah, how could you? Now, I'm curious here where
he almost had that touchdown that didn't count, but he had that touchdown too.
Dude, listen, there's going to be – I'll tell you this thing for sure about Keon in a Pickens way, but I think plus there's going to be some plays that maybe don't count that you're going to be like, damn, that was crazy. I think Keon has that. So, let me ask you. Raymond Davis, what are you thinking on Ray Davis today? He had a serviceable day despite the fact getting 6 touches is actually kind of interesting.
Yeah, and coming into this one a little banged up. There was questionable tags on him coming into the week as well. So, look, you'd be crazy and out your damn mind if you didn't think that Ray Davis has, after his performance last week against the Jets and after what he did today, not like it was anything crazy, but 8.2 a carry. I mean, he's earning himself a little bit of a role in this offense, even with James Cook healthy. And it's becoming a little bit more of a tiny bit of a committee. And if you're a James Cook manager, you absolutely hate to see it.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I know that's the case, and I'm not actually going to tell you that you shouldn't. You don't love to see a guy that's looking that looks well. Okay, this is very much like Braylon. Okay, I think where you don't like to see a guy that's actually now Braylon's not. He's not as physically imposing, doesn't look quite as good as Braylon. But the same concept where it's a rookie stepping in and you're like, man, he should be earning more touches. So I just think with James Cook, we shouldn't quite panic as much as probably I think people are, because James Cook, in my personal estimation, was never a stylistic back that's going to take a Breece Hall, Saquon Barkley type workload. I think he's probably a little better for the most part if he's getting, like the guy that we're going to talk about later here, unfortunately came at Andrew's expense. He's better in like a Jahmyr Gibbs type role where keep him fresh, let Ray get his stuff too. Here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to pivot to one more thing. Josh Allen was sat by somebody, I won't name names, in a league last week, I believe, or 2 weeks ago. Wide receiver or quarterback 1 again. I think here's the reality. Like, what are we doing? If you had any type of like worry about Josh Allen, if you moved him off of your quarterback 1 in Dynasty, everybody out there, someone that's not here today, Stop it. It's Josh Allen. It's obviously sucks to see what happened to Jaden Daniels. That's a different conversation. But Josh Allen is still him. And I think here's the thing. Whatever happened with Diggs at the end was not good. And Amari Cooper's coming in with no diva type shit. Right? He got whatever he needed to get rid of in Cleveland. You can't have a worse situation. It's almost like the situation where the Cowboys, when they moved on from Cooper, were like, damn, why did we do that? Jerry was so short-sighted on that trade. I think they had to do this in Buffalo, but they were looking for a replacement, and they had the perfect opportunity to buy one from the Browns, which we thought were going to be better. Some people did. I shouldn't have. The last thing, Andrew, this has been tough seeing because what do you think about Dalton Kincaid now, buddy? Like all this good stuff happening, and man, I was not the Dalton Kincaid buyer, but I didn't see this bad and like just not being useful at all, really.
Yeah, I mean, look, I didn't see this coming either, and I was the Dalton Kincaid truther. Stamped him actually as a my guy right before the season at the tight end position, saying like there was no other tight end that I wanted than Dalton Kincaid.
Sorry, you miss. Everybody misses. I got some really bad misses. It's all good.
It ain't looking great. I think at the end of the day, though, I guess the only thing, and maybe this is just blind me just turning the eye and not wanting to accept reality, is that, hey, they're all bad. They're all bad for the most part, so at least I still got Kincaid.
But I guess that to me, and I get it, right? It's like, listen, if you don't look in the mirror, you don't have to see the atrocity of whatever you currently see. Yeah. No, but I think the truth is, though, right, that makes it worse because it's like, why did I spent money for Kincaid that I'm getting the turd level pricing? Man, the thing is, too, I guess what's weird is the targets are still coming in decent waves. It's just,
yeah.
I think with Amari Cooper this season, I think definitely the upside that I still actually quietly think existed may not quite be there. So, Kincaid now is a fine tight end. He's just not what we once thought. Unfortunately, he'll be fine. He's just not gonna, I don't think, be a difference maker at the position. To your point, right? He's fine.
Yeah, you'll probably feel better in your heart, plugging him into your lineup than
you were right about
other
that
tight
too.
ends. But at the end of the day, it is what it is.
You are so right about that, man. But the heart wants what it wants, and believe me, Cam Akers is one that comes to mind. I fought the good and bad fight on Cam Akers for far too long. Let's get to we got 2 more games to cover, and then we'll get to the Lions. So, all right, let's see here. Where do you want? We're getting to the point. There's some games I really don't want to touch on. You know what? Houston and Green Bay is the one that we got to talk about. That was a good one. What do you think about this game? I'm trying to find my Green Bay holograms. We'll start with Houston, I guess. What was your take on this game? Did you expect different? And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like Green Bay is still kind of being slept on from the NFL perspective a little bit, which is hard to believe. Yeah,
they're still a little bit slept on. It's tough, man, because I feel like that division, and I don't want to sit here and toot, the NFC North horn, but Detroit, Minnesota, even Chicago, shit, like these teams are looking solid, man, and Green Bay's right there with it. So it's anybody's division. As much as we think that, a lot of these teams are all good, Green Bay's just one of these good teams as well. Jordan Love looks like he could be playing as good a football as anybody in the NFL at the moment.
Sure.
And I still think recovering a little bit from that injury, that MCL sprain. So they're going to be good. I'd like to see Josh Jacobs get things rolling a little bit better up to this point, but overall their offense has looked fine. I think it's kind of like that 49ers offense where like they spread it around so much you don't know who's going to have the big day, but 2 of them will. Yep,
Jaden Reed's a guy I don't care. I'm putting in my lineup. I'm telling you guys, fuck off. I was down on him enough all off season. I'm out on that. But aside from him, they're all good in best ball, where you don't have to worry about starting them. But man, is it hard to pencil? When Dontavian Wicks had the day today? Let me ask you.
Right after we all dropped him.
That's a tough scene. Let me ask you. For obviously in Dynasty, we talked about this quite a bit in the offseason. I know you were talking about it with us too. Jordan Love felt like the off-brand CJ Stroud. And to your point right now, Jordan Love, even for this season, is playing better. And realistically, I don't really care about the age difference enough to. I'm getting ready to move Jordan Love ahead of C.J. Stroud for fantasy purposes. I think if I'm building a team, you could make a great case for Love. I'm probably taking Stroud there, but that's a different conversation than in fantasy football.
I look at Jordan Love right now, and it's really hard for me. I don't know, and maybe this is me just not being able to do it because I like some of the younger guys, but it's hard for me to not have him close to top 5 or at least in the top 5. Like he's got to be right there, man. Like I'm thinking if I'm doing a startup today, you got to have like Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels up there. You got to have I mean, you can put an argument for Jordan Love right there at 3. Can you not?
I mean, I personally wouldn't just because of the Konami code thing. Like I'm still Jalen Hurts today's example is like almost the perfect stat line example as to why I wouldn't do that. I'm not telling you can't, for the record. I'm just saying why I would not. But to your point, like it's probably not long after that, if at all, that you should be having a conversation. Now, you don't have to ultimately put them where you don't want to, but for me, I think, and listen, you want to talk about a wrong take, Andrew? You should have seen my Jordan Love takes last year. It was bad, buddy. I was on the wrong side of that one. Jordan Love is looking like a stud in both real football for the Packers. The Packers, how lucky can the Packers be, man? Like, I know they're owned by the city. There's a lot of feel-good stuff. You go from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. If Jordan Love's playing like this, my gosh, man. You know, the Browns right now they don't even have a dream of a quarterback, and they're paying one. And I get to watch this franchise have it for my entire life. They have good quarterbacks, just over and over and over. The hell? It's crazy. It's crazy. I think there's not a whole lot to talk about in this game that people don't know, but yeah, Jordan Love, to your point, is he's balling, man. Kid is balling.
I see the chat too. The chat brings up Lamar. They're damn correct about Lamar being in that top 3.
I actually forgot that if you didn't say him, and I didn't catch that, that's on me because I have Lamar. Honestly, dude, like Jaden Daniels definitely was my 2, and I hate to see this injury. That's the only thing to talk about in the Washington game. The worst part is the game was disgusting. It was awful. And that injury happens. Like that whole game is toss it out the window. It sucks. But yeah, Jordan Love would be after those guys for sure. I still would put him after Hurts. I got him conversation starting at 5 for me. But
listen, that's all I said is you got to have that conversation at 5.
Right.
Like top 5 guy, Jordan Love probably. So
yeah, no, I don't know. He's definitely in that range of mid to high end quarterback 1 on a weekly basis too, regardless of if he runs or doesn't. Let me ask you then, with this Packers offense and this, Titans thing, with Nico Collins out, what are your expectations? I mean, Mixon gets it done again. I feel like for your sake, I gotta show the kid some love, man. So I will do that. But I'm just curious, any other thoughts on the Texans offense as a whole, Packers offense as a whole? I think you won them all in general, but to your point, the one conundrum is the Packers and which ones to play. While Nico being out, it's very clear who you should be playing on Texans team.
Yeah, I mean, Nico's the clear number 1. I think he benefits everybody by being on the football field. Diggs, at this point in his career, I think we're seeing that he can be leaned on when you need him, but he's better off if you have somebody else on the other side of him, like Nico Collins. Mm-hmm. None of them really had a good day. Tank Dell went out and goosed us.
Yeah, Tank Dell was the one that I was going to say. I'm not sure Tank Dell actually is better when Nico's out there, but at the same time, he can goose you apparently, as we saw today, whether he's out there or not. So the floor for Tank is certainly not the greatest of things. Nope. You said you just what?
Yeah, I think back to this offseason, man. There was such a pandemonium fever about Tank Dell that I thought was kind of ridiculous. And I saw, Tank Dell, he's talented, man. I get it, But at the end of the day, he's a very unique player, and we were looking at a guy who was, let's just be honest, outlier. And he wasn't supposed to have the year that he was supposed to have. And
sure,
everybody was loving Tank Dell. And I mean, people were saying this is CJ Stroud's number 1 forever type shit. And yeah, man, we look at how far we have come from that.
Yeah, I mean, I am still I guess if the siren is on, like I don't want to. I'm not jumping off the bridge, panicking yet, but I think we are at a real point where this guy's role in this current team's offense is not what it once was when you thought it was going to be stable and you could just project that into next year. Stephon Diggs' presence, and I think the other thing was with Nico. This floor, to me, this was the guy to talk about because, right, Nico and Diggs out there, okay, you say last year there was games where they both did well, but if Nico's not out there, Dalton Schultz also isn't doing much. Like, I think Tank Dell in the future will end up being able to retain a nice role here and will be fine. But at the same time, man, like he's not a player that has value insulation. So right now his price is falling quickly. And there's also with his draft capital not a lock that they ever give him the same role that he once had. They could be trying to, with a guy like C.J. Stroud, young, not making money, continue to add more to the receiver room, and he could be the odd man out. So there's a lot more risk, I think, that meets the eye even today with Tank Dell.
Yeah, I mean, I hear it. It's just from where we were at, 4 months ago to where we're at, he was a screaming sell at that moment. There were people buying at top 15 prices, top 12 wide receiver prices in the dynasty market. And it's just, that is not even close to where I think he will. I don't think he'll ever get back to that point, ever.
The only way he would get there is if Diggs is gone and he's actually like a real 2 again, where he's getting what happened is, and this is where it's dangerous in short sample sizes. Remember he had like 11 targets. He was getting an insane pepperage of targets, and that's great. But man, it was such a small sample size, and he's young, so it's like people push these young players up way too high. Unfortunately, with the Diggs addition was going to probably always never let him get that high. Now it's certainly not going to be anywhere near that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of dynasty players probably don't want to hear it, but Stephon Diggs does make this Houston Texans team better, and I would not be shocked if at the end of the year he gets another extension to stay here in Houston.
Certainly. I mean, I think they have the money. The thing is, they also have the money to do it. So if he's having a good time and there's no drama, they're going to likely be the team that sets the winning bid. I tend to agree with you there. Let's talk about, there's a couple games that are kind of gross. Real quick, we can go really rapid fire through this. Let's do the Raiders and the Rams game. I'll tell you one thing, buddy. It's very gross. Cooper Kupp. We had the Aaron Jones surprise, and it wasn't a surprise that Cooper Kupp didn't play, but it was like, all right, if you didn't see this coming, I don't know what to tell you. Like, this was in the range of outcomes. He doesn't play. For the Raiders, though, like, dude, I don't know. I don't care at all about anybody. I sat Madison versus you. It would have been better than McLeod, but it still was turdy. I struggle to watch him and actually have him on my fantasy team. The opposite guy is Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers is a guy that at this point is like, man, Kyle Pitts. Whatever you thought of Kyle Pitts in the past, like this is him, but maybe with a little bit more fervor, which is ridiculous because if you knew what that was like with Kyle Pitts, it was outrageous.
Yeah, that was outrageous.
The thing is too with Brock Bowers, I have no reason. Like there's nothing I can tell you about him right now as a player with this team with no quarterback. That's like, I'm not gonna knock him. But the price in which he's at, to me, if it's real, is just how can we keep him? Because I like him, but it's just he plays the wrong position, and he has to be so damn good to matter at that position. So I'm curious where you're at, or if you disagree or not. And this is the only guy I really care to talk about on this team.
I'm the same way, man. Like I was looking at, and I know people hate it. People hate it when you even say the name Keep Trade Cut. But I was looking at it the other day, just market value, just trying to see what's going on.
Sure.
Did you know that he is currently more expensive than guys like he's almost the same value as Joe Burrow, and this is super flex. Like Brock Bowers or Joe Burrow, Brock Bowers or Jalen Hurts. Like he's pinched in between them in Keep Trade Cut rankings, and it just tells you that like everybody who has Brock Bowers is insanely high on him for good reasons. We're not saying he's a bad player,
sure,
but he's a player that, like, you're right. How can you keep him? The fever is so crazy right now that if that market, which is probably a little bit inflated on here, we will admit that, but
sure,
if that's even close, like get me the hell. I mean, I'll get out. I'll play, another guy at a tight end position and buy your Jalen Hurts or whatever the hell it may be.
Yeah, I'd like to go to the bottom. It's so funny, dude. I drafted David Njoku ahead of Brock Bowers. We all drafted our tight ends ahead of Brock Bowers in redraft. But
yeah,
I guess the point is, like, David Njoku rest of the season versus Brock Bowers, I would rather have Brock Bowers. But if you told me that David Njoku had a puncher's chance to beat him or at least hold serve, I don't. And that offense is terrible. It's not going to be fun to watch. But it's just I guess it's just the tight end position as a whole. I don't want to have the high end ones because I don't know that Brock Bowers can even score the points that are necessary to keep him in that range. The last thing I'll say is that's all I want to talk about for that team. For the Rams, I guess same. I don't really want to talk about anybody. We keep hearing this stuff. They're coming back. When do you think it's actually happening? Or I don't know. Is that bad? We're not allowed to touch that subject. Or is that we just don't talk about it?
Cooper Kupp?
Yeah, well, just Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, everybody, right?
Well, you said I always bring the tweets to you.
There it is. That's why I got you.
Sean McVay said he's there next week. So, that according to Sean McVay, Cooper Kupp is playing on Thursday Night Football against the Minnesota Vikings.
Okay. And you know what? That actually, I remember looking at that too right after the start-sit questions I had yesterday, thinking like, man, it kind of would make sense if they feel like they need to hold him out on a short week next week. They want to get him playing. I could see that. At the same time with Cooper Kupp.
That's why they did it with TJ Hawkinson today. They wanted to hold him off for Thursday.
Interesting. Okay. Same thing for each side. I think the thing with Cooper Kupp is, like, I have no doubt that that's the case. Cooper Kupp to me is, though, scary only on the regard of I could see a very real scenario where he's not it's not day-to-day per se as far as a normal injury goes. It's more so that could re-aggravate itself. He could end up being hurt at any point. I know it's the ankle, but he just seems like a guy that's always hurt. So hopefully, knock on wood, he's back. He's ready to go because this whole offense needs it, man. I think they need a boost in a horrible way.
Dude, they'll take either of them. If it ain't Coop, it needs to be Puka. If it's not Puka, it needs to be Coop. It's got to be somebody. Bring somebody back, man.
Well, the thing about Puka is, like, I don't know, at least for me, some of the things I've been hearing, they're not quite as optimistic as was Cooper Kupp's, and then Cooper Kupp not playing today makes me really worry a little bit about whatever the timeline on Puka is, right?
I've heard rumblings that there might have been a setback with Puka.
That's kind of what I was, unfortunately did not concisely word what I was saying with Cooper Kupp. A setback, yes, thank you.
Yeah, so there's could have been a setback, but I don't know. Obviously, we don't know. They are going to be hush-hush about that as well, but it's not looking great. I think if you have Puka, if you have Cooper Kupp right now, we're just doing what we've been doing, and it's sit down patiently, fingers crossed, and pray that we can get these guys back in the lineup.
Unfortunately. And I mean, Stafford's was a cheap quarterback 3 that I was hoping to have for bye weeks, and I don't feel very good about bye weeks or any weeks right now. I'm like, can I please get some guys back to help him too? So we got that out of the way. Colts Dolphins. Listen, the Dolphins, I could argue right now had a quarterback that did just as good, if not better, dude. This is scary season right now. Spooky season for A-Rich. I don't even want to put that team up, bro. Tyler Goodson scored a touchdown, and everything else was literally waiver wire fodder for the week. Like, it's gross. Joe Flacco, I was talking about this. I was kind of half kidding, but kind of half serious. Like, he kind of messed things up for Cleveland. I think Haslam was the only one that doesn't, because of what we saw with Flacco last year, we know these excuses for Watson are garbage. Like, no. Flacco's messing with the Colts and what A-Rich, I think A-Rich is doing some of this a lot to himself, but it doesn't help when you have a guy on your back that's a veteran that's playing well, that just won a game last week, and that you know this is a team that's expecting to win. So, spooky season for the Colts, dude. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, really my only thought is I agree to the point of this is scary with A-Rich. And I kind of had a conversation on my channel a couple days ago. We did a video on Saturday, and we were talking a little bit about Adonai Mitchell, but obviously Anthony Richardson comes up, and it's like, you as the Indianapolis Colts, you draft A-Rich, what we assume you understand is a developmental quarterback, a guy that you're going to have to groom and kind of get up to speed to the NFL level. He was a very raw prospect. I mean, everybody with eyes could see it. But it's like if there starts to get a little bit of pressure on Shane Steichen, and there's a little bit of pressure on some of these other guys here.
It happens in the NFL quick, man.
We need to win games. How quickly do they turn off of this developmental prospect that they had patience to develop and just go with the vet and, down the road a year from now? I mean, I got a buddy who's a Colts fan who was saying he's calling it today. He said he's putting his money in the bank. It's Arch Manning, quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts.
Oh, wow. That was not.
Yeah.
No, that was not where I was expecting you to go. So I thought the sentiment would be that Burrow might be able to keep him away from that. Or Burrow, holy crap, I'm talking crazy. I'm moving the Bengals holograms over, and that's insane. Joe Flacco is not Joe Burrow, but Joe Flacco. I guess here's the thing: the Colts right now. This is one of those worst case scenarios because I think A-Rich always was going to be a guy that had a lot of inconsistency at the quarterback position. I think the Colts knew that. I think everybody that probably isn't A-Rich knew that he was going to go out there and have some games where it didn't look the prettiest, right? He has those moments of, holy crap, is this guy really a quarterback? That narrative was going to come back at some point. I think the problem is, it's hard to explain, but like you don't want, if you're a gunslinger, if you're a shooter, the last thing you want is to know, in the basketball terms, that the coach is getting ready to pull you after every missed shot potentially, right? Like, I think there's a level of uncertainty that he did not need that he's got right now. And last year it was a small sample size, but the fact that the charisma and the lack of any real evaluation of himself and just the overconfidence, it doesn't seem like it's there right now this week at least. Nope. I know he's also dealing with an injury. This is an athletic guy that it needs to have his body to score well and do well. I don't know. I keep hearing every time the game's over, I still have the audio on. I keep hearing Bill Cowher immediately, and he keeps talking about we got to get rid of A-Rich. It's old school thinking, but he also makes some good points. I don't know if they do that. I hope they don't, man, because I just don't know if a guy like A-Rich is a project, if that's something that you ever really get. I hope I'm not going to write his career off, but I just hope it doesn't kind of mess with his mental. So, but it's not good, man. Not good at all.
I feel like even when he runs, he looks panicked. Like, even the running looks panicky. Like,
that's what I mean. I think he's still a little bit hurt because he's coming off this injury because he's a way better athlete than what he was running, I think, today. You're not wrong.
Yeah. He was running like Baker today. Like, Baker Mayfield runs like that, bro.
That's crazy, but that's crazy. Damn, that's a tough scene. All right, let's talk about the last one, man. Let's get rid of the other games. We'll save the shitty, crazy, scary stuff for next week. Andrew, let me ask you, were you in the camp of like Monty's a problem for Gibbs? I'm just kind of curious where you were at with this situation because for me and Mike, I think Monty's out. First of all, he's playing his ass off, and he was playing for a contract which he since earned, rightfully so. I think Gibbs is always going to be a guy that his workload and touch load should be not truly, that 70, 80+% range, which we'd love to have. I don't think his body's that type. So I think this is a good thing for him, truly. Probably does mean his floor is a little lower, but he still just showed you today he's got plenty of upside. So I'm curious what you think. Obviously, it's easy to ask this question off of a big boom, but where are you at?
Yeah, man, I felt the same way. I think really more than anything, like the way that I viewed Jahmyr Gibbs, and I think we even talked about this in the offseason, you and I, was like, he's a guy that doesn't even need, a significant amount of touches to give you the booms. And it just, to me, if you look at the way that the Lions run the football, it reminds me of those Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara Saints, Monty being the
Very
Mark
much.
Ingram.
Yeah.
Do you want you still wanted Alvin Kamara, didn't you?
Hold on. Now, speaking of X and all that, Sonic and Knuckles, right?
Yeah, this is Sonic and Knuckles.
Crazy. I've never heard. I'm trying to think at least the last time it's been like somebody said, "Hey, these are our nicknames. We want you to call us this." But I'll do it. But I was thinking about that. That's kind of interesting.
They definitely had a PR team working with that one. They had to get it out to all of the sources. I mean, there was multiple sources saying that
well, they got that movie.
This is what they want to be called now.
They got that movie coming out. I bet you some money might have been involved. Regardless, Sonic and Knuckles. Yeah, to your point, that's a good call with the Saints team. Yeah, I like that call.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, you would have wanted Kamara regardless, and Kamara was still, I think, the guy that we all preferred in that backfield. So it's the way that I view it. Gibbs, to me, he's I mean, look, you can't have in my opinion, you can't have a top 5 dynasty running backs without Gibbs' name in it. And quite frankly, I don't know if you can have a top 3 right now without Gibbs' name in it.
Really? Okay, that's see, Mike, you're not here, but that's Andrew's growing up on you, man. That's the type of stuff Mike will get. Whether you're right or wrong people may not be quite ready to hear that. If they aren't, too bad. I'm not sure if I have him at 3, but I think to your point, you got to have him in the 5. And I do think if you look at his usage, I think that overall it's been actually really good. It's been really, really good. The problem has been David Montgomery has also been simultaneously so great that I think it's been kind of souring and jading the way we view Gibbs unnecessarily because he's been playing well himself. It just hasn't resulted in top 10 5 finishes every week. So that's the problem, I think. Look,
I think if you to yourself, not you specifically, anybody listening at home, if you feel comfortable putting Bijan Robinson in your top 3, you cannot say that you are uncomfortable putting Jahmyr Gibbs because you're talking about the same damn situation. Bijan Robinson is not performing at a top 5 number week in and week out. Bijan Robinson is still getting touches taken from Tyler Algier. I mean, look, if we're going to put Bijan up there, you got to at least consider Jahmyr Gibbs. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is as good as anybody. So I don't know, man. That's just my take.
No, I mean, excuse me. Allergic to the bullshit, apparently, because you're not wrong. You're spitting facts, and I think. Listen, this is nothing against Monty either. I think he's going to have some weeks like today where the usage wasn't great. He doesn't have a great game. Doesn't mean that he's done either. I think these guys are both on a potent offense too. That's the other thing. This isn't the Falcons offense, which we didn't even touch on today. They're like kind of hit or miss. This is a team that. It's not going to have its down weeks. Every team does. But overall, this is a team that scores a ton of points, and I want to just put both of these guys in my lineup and I just want to say fuck the noise, all right? Jahmyr Gibbs' ceiling doesn't exist. Stop it. Like, sure, if you don't like the fact that he's not a true bell cow, okay, there's literally 3 of those players out there like right now. Like, stop it. It's just it was nonsense to me. We needed this. I needed this at least. Let me speak for myself. I made Andrew laugh and mute his ass. He's like, all right, I hear you. Because apparently, listen, we'll talk about Amon-Ra real quick. He got himself a day as well. And then we have 2 people in here that say Gibbs running back 1 in Dynasty. So you weren't wrong about top 3. I got this. I don't really want to watch it. I'm so annoyed that this happened because it just sucks for all of us, realistically. I didn't want to see Russ go in there. I don't want to watch the Steelers at all. But I do like this idea that this is happening, okay? The Tomlin side eye out of Russ, I like to hear that. Amon-Ra St. Brown also had a boom week today. I don't think there was ever a buy window on him. Those people that were trying, I get the idea. I just don't think that ever really existed.
On Amon-Ra?
Yeah. More so in redraft than in Dynasty, I feel like it was. Well, I'm not going to say you couldn't have done it. I feel like it was silly to be selling if you were, I guess is my question.
Yeah, I got in this offseason and it felt very expensive at the time. It felt like the smart move. You know, it's kind of that Rich Dotson at Dynasty Nerds. He has this phrase where he says, what is an overpay today might be an underpay tomorrow. It was definitely one of those things.
Sounds like Jerry Jones a little bit. I like that, though. It's a good call.
Yeah, what it was an overpay today was an underpay tomorrow. I gave, in the offseason, Garrett Wilson and a first-round pick to go get Amon-Ra.
Okay.
And it felt like an overpay at the time. It was like, all right, I'm giving Garrett plus a first. But today, yeah, it feels like an underpay.
Yeah, you ain't wrong, dude. You ain't wrong. I mean, you ain't wrong. Listen, Amon-Ra St. Brown should have never. Part of the problem, I think, realistically, we touched. Neighbors had a low day today. There's been a lot of excitement. Marv was so high. I think that Amon-Ra somehow was getting mixed up in a lot of this youth movement. And not that you shouldn't be crazy high on Neighbors or have a belief in Marv, but to me, they still probably shouldn't quite. Maybe Malik, but getting past Amon-Ra is just kind of crazy, dude. It's kind of insane. I had a blow up for Jonnu Smith. I think we can save ourselves that. Let's just stop it. We had fucking this Dolphins offense that just needs anything, and that's what happens to us. That's what we get. Like, brother, How is that a thing? And then again with the tight end position, because Jonnu Smith, I just want to give you some names that we're finishing, how the tight end landscape finishes for the week, okay? Jonnu Smith is your tight end 2 behind David Njoku. These are guys that people probably weren't really that comfortable or didn't really love starting. Hunter Henry, tight end 3. Zach Ertz, the tight end 4. Then you get Pitts and Bowers, okay? You got a little bit of some excitement there. You get Jatavian Sanders, who everyone was really excited for in Dynasty for sure, but certainly not lineup consideration unless you have this, 2 big sacks hanging down, because that's crazy if you started Jatavian Sanders, brother. And Noah Fant. I wish I didn't have David Njoku in a weird way, because I had to drop Noah Fant, and I went back and forth with him. Like, I can't carry extra tight ends. It's just insane. Noah Fant, the thing is, I feel like I lost my call in a way, because Noah Fant really is not done that much when you think about meaningfulness and like to the NFL side of it. But he had another 4 catch, 65 yards today, but puts him inside the top 10. Noah Fant is going to end up being like a top 15 option, if not top 12 for sure, in WARP this far in. And he's not scored a touchdown. He's done nothing for you, dude. That's how bad the entire position is, dude. It is crazy how bad the tight end position is in this landscape. It's hard to understate. It's insane, bro.
Look, man, we talked about it this week when we were doing our waiver show over at BDG. I said I dropped Pat Frymuth, which great call by me, by the way, because I picked up Zach Ertz to play him. You said tight end 4 on the week for Zach Ertz, but
I was looking at a non-PPR, so I apologize. You're probably right on the PPR part. Yep.
It's all fine. But that being said, I dropped Frymuth, and everybody was like, wait, he's tight end 9 on the season? Like a top 10 guy on the season? Yeah, he doesn't do really anything for my football team at all. Like, he's droppable.
Nah, he's droppable. Yeah, you're not wrong. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to cover. I guess, listen, it doesn't feel good. It feels great, honestly. I should have wore the Noah Fant jersey, but I've been wearing it so much lately. I've just been kind of like rubbing it in people's faces, and it doesn't feel good as far as like he hasn't done shit really. But I'll take the victory laps. Kenneth Walker also had a day. Last thing I want to touch on Seattle. I don't really care about the Falcons, but I will talk about
Bijan had a day too, though.
He did. We could do that real quick before we get out. Actually, let's do that. We'll go ahead and give Falcons, Seahawks. Noah Fant 4 for 65, super uninspiring, but top 10. My question, we talked about this negatively a little bit. You and I don't know if you ended up making the trade or not. I still think you should hold based on the trade we talked about. But JSN, man, the fake value, is he still feeling like you're feeling a little thrifty with him? It's not good.
Yeah, I mean, he has felt very much like a guy that's just inflated so much in the dynasty space to what he actually provides my team. I mean, for the folks at home, we were talking about a trade where it was JSN and a first for
JSN and a first
CMC.
I thought it was another piece even too, but yeah, the bulk of it was JSN and a first for CMC.
Basically,
Cup
JSN and a first for CMC and Cooper Kupp. That's kind of what we were talking about, or at least that's where it kind of developed in our conversations to this point.
Right.
It felt like, on paper, I'm sitting there like JSN in a first. That kind of feels heavy, but at the same time, they're not doing anything for my lineup, and this is a contending team. So maybe I should be making this move. But you kind of talked me off the ledge, and you said, what is CMC and what is Cooper Kupp doing for your team right now?
Right. That was my big pushback. Is like, I get the idea still, but you're taking on too much risk.
Maybe wrong players.
Yes, exactly. Right.
Yeah. So that's where we're at. Do I feel different about it? I don't know. I mean, this trade still hasn't gotten done, and I still don't think I would pay JSN in a first. It still feels heavy. But, yeah, maybe that's me just being stubborn with my JSN share.
I wouldn't say that's necessarily true. He did have, though, today 6 targets, 3 catches, 9 yards. I don't know. He had a touchdown a couple weeks ago, I think, and then he had the one crazy game, which is starting to look – we knew it was probably an outlier, 16 targets, but that's looking like a
major outlier.
Yeah, I mean –
yeah.
It's a tough scene for JSN. Let's just quickly – we'll do the Falcons thing.
Slide to Bijan.
Slide to Bijan Robinson. I don't know. I'm with him, I'm not really – I'm still uninspired in Dynasty because I know what his cost is, I guess, is what I'm kind of where I'm at with him.
I mean, through the highs and lows, he still sits atop the depth chart as tight end 1 in Dynasty.
RB1, yep.
So I don't know, man. 21 carries, 103 yards, and a touchdown. Obviously a good day compared to what he's been having. Sure. I think that's going to be good enough to put him He's probably going to finish as a top 7 running back this week?
Yeah.
Top 5?
I was actually looking. I think he's already I wanted to say top 5. Let me just double check that again. But he had a great week. He's looked good. I think the other thing too is he's looked good on the weeks he hasn't been producing. He's number 6 right now in standard PPR. Tank Bigsby just edged him out. Damn, we didn't even get the Tank. But I don't know. My biggest thing is that with Bijan, I feel like I love the player. I still love the talent. I still think he's going to have weeks that are good. A lot of this was exciting to see, over 100 yards receiving, and then he also still had 40 yards. 100 yards rushing, over 40 yards receiving. I don't know though, man. To me, I'm still leery that he's going to produce like this consistently. If he produces like this, and we're looking at more like a Saquon Barkley type of production that I can count on him being that type of a player, I'm much more in at the price. To me, though, I don't really care about the tight end or the running back position long enough to say I'm going to just take the youth of Bijan. I'll just go ahead. I'll let me go get Saquon right now.
Yeah.
Why not even
Henry?
Well, yeah. There's the extreme of extremes. I feel like Henry, if you don't have if you have him and you're contending, I think you would gotta be somewhat of a we got to go back to the insane asylum. If you think you're trading him in a contending team, there's just no way people are moving him on a contender. But if he's on a rebuilder team at any point, I got to imagine you're getting offers left and right. Derrick Henry's crazy. I'm excited to see what he does tomorrow. Hopefully I'm sure our Bozo parlay is probably already dead, isn't it?
Jack with the Terry McLaurin call killed the day.
I will say though, I can't even fault him. That's just that part. No, that I hope is not a serious injury. He did appear to be pretty on the second half when he came back, on the sideline. He appeared to be pretty in good spirits. I'm hoping the best case scenario and that it's not a serious thing because.
Good to think, man. We went 8 for 9 on Sunday with that Bozo parlay. That's kind of crazy, man.
And the day that they're playing Carolina, they scored 40 points. Dog. Yeah. Speaking of which, though, we got plenty of scary stuff to happen this week. We're gonna have plenty of scary stuff, unfortunately, to come. Next week in particular, make sure you're checking that out. Before I put that back up for y'all to see, if you haven't seen it, check this out. But I do want to let you know, make sure you go check out the League FFB, Andrew's YouTube. And Andrew, I don't know if you have anything else you wanted to plug. I wanted to give you a chance to do that. Man got the new hoodie.
No, I mean, you got it, man. If you guys, entertained, found something actionable, whatever, you just want to go check out and support the content, it's at the League FFB on YouTube. You can find me there. If you want to go find me on X, Adam says I'm on X a lot, at Andrew2True over on X. But those are the two places you can find me at. That's it, man.
Yeah, I always like calling you Too True every now and again, just kind of messing with you. I do that to Mike. His thing's Iowa Michael. I'll be just randomly put Iowa Michael in there, kind of messing with it. But yeah, Andrew Too True and the League FFB. Go check out his channel. Otherwise, we will see you back here. Andrew will not be here, but I can tell you a lot of things are going to be here. Deshon Watson already. We didn't get much time. It happened for us. It's gone. Achilles done. Probably going to be some other things in the meantime, but we'll see you back here same time, same place next week for the recap show. We appreciate Andrew coming in. Love y'all. Peace.
You shouldn't have buried me. I'm not dead. Take it serious.
Yeah.
Hello, Michael.
Hi.
This is your wake-up call.
What's going to happen?
I'm afraid that was a wrong answer.
Oh, shit.
What's happening to my face?
Hey, yo.
Burning me?